Alright folks, in this review will be containing spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie yet and you intend to see it, please stop watching. By all means, click it to save later, okay? But if you haven't seen The Matrix Resurrection, please stop, and just bear in mind throughout this I'm going to be going back and forward with a couple of things that's happened in the trilogy as well. Right, coming right up. Right, first of all, I did kind of like it. I know it's had a lot of mixed reactions, and probably one of the most notable performances I would need to give to Doogie Howser himself, Neil Patrick Harris. I thought he was kind of like the breakout star, and I loved the way it started. And let's give you a bit of a backstory, because after watching that, I do believe that Morpheus was very possibly the first Agent Smith, which is very, very possible, because at the start, you know, they start running a simulation as a sort of a trap for, you know, the character of Bugs and all the rest of it, who brilliantly played, by the way. I liked that because if you remember correctly, during the first one, when Smith was interrogating Morpheus, it's like he was trying to get into his head saying, I need to get free, I need to get free. And by the way, later on, kind of after the review, later on in the video, I will tell you one serious problem I have with this movie, right? And I feel it does have kind of dangerous implications. But that being said, I did kind of like the movie, and I liked it all the way throughout, because for my mind it did answer a lot of questions that were left unanswered. But the Neo that we see, or the Thomas Anderson, obviously wasn't kind of the same one, because it's obvious that he died at the end of the third one. Because if you remember, you know, he had his eyes burnt out, and the codex containing, you know, Trinity Neos was put in a place called, what was it they called it? The Anomalium or something. And they had to do that. And this new architect, he obviously had learnt from the mistake of what happened with Morpheus being an agent, because he was. And Agent Smith was able to break free of the Matrix. And that is kind of why the role of kind of the agents would be different in this one, because the agents in the trilogy were able to take over anybody else, but in this kind of Matrix reality, or whatever you want to call it, they were all bots. And the reason why they were able to transport in a train is the train program obviously, you know, changed sides. Because if you remember correctly, at the end of the third one, they were all given the option whether to stay in the machine world or go inside with the resistance, if you like. The train program obviously done that, and that's how they're able now to get in and out of the Matrix, you know, without needing a phone booth or a phone or anything like that. And in that regard, I think it's pretty awesome. And Thomas Anderson thought it was 20 years later, it was actually over 60 years later. And I/O, quite an interesting thing here, I/O means input output, but it also leads to Greek mythology, and I'm sure it's like the fourth biggest moon in the solar system or something like that. And it's to do with one of the wives of Zeus, I think. But I liked the movie, and I liked it throughout. I know a lot of people are crapping over it, and the whole thing about Smith, I'm going to tell you right now, the reason why Smith had to side with Neo was because Smith is a program, you know, machine learning and all that, and he learned, I don't know what exactly this analyst played by Neil Patrick Harris would have kept the codex for Smith. Probably had to, the whole Trinity here is Neo, Smith and Trinity. But I feel the biggest reason is when that happened at the end of the third movie, Smith realised what his mistake was, or he was undoing. they two need each other because of what happened at the end of the first. They became a part of each other. You know, the whole yin yang, that kind of bollocks, you know. And I'm not going to make this a lengthy one, but one of the biggest problems that I've got is, see if you're seeing somebody that's maybe suffering from any kind of mental illness, depression or anything, and the whole thing about the blue pills is, the whole thing that I'm worried about is when Neil stopped taking those pills, right? People might be taking antidepressants that really need them, and they might actually think, well, maybe I don't need them at all. And folks, this is, I'm going to be producing one other video, right? And it will be probably, I'm going to premiere on Christmas Day, and it is actually a theory that I've got, that the whole thing about Neo and that didn't actually happen, that the Matrix is the real world. Bear in mind, folks, it's only a theory, right? But it is one that I've been reading more and more on. No, and then you can jump on there and tell me what you think of this theory, okay? But I feel it's obvious Neo did die, Trinity did die, and the whole thing about Morpheus, for folk that don't know, I'm pretty sure he died on, what was it, the Enter the Matrix game. I think that's what they called it, because he was looking for Neo's body after he died, and he died in that. But the whole reason is, if you remember correctly, Smith was able to unplug into a human body, and I do feel that's what happened with Morpheus to begin with, and I feel that's pretty much, that could be taken as canon. I don't know if it is or not though. But thanks very much. Please let me know in the comments what you think. Right, cheers.